The best traders and investors in the world don't work harder. They wait patiently for AAA grade entries. And in this show, I want to show you the mindset behind an incredible investor and trader. I want to show you the sets of skills that they use to make a lot of money. But then what I also want to show you is where all the market's at and which market I believe is going to make the most money in 2026 going into 2027. So in this show, you're going to learn a lot around techniques, as well as a couple personal plays that I am taking to show you the strategy and the mindset before I open up a trade or an investment. So now let's start off with the first thing. What is a AAA grade entry? Now, the reason why it's AAA grade is because it does not come very often. You're looking at every couple of years, do you really get a AAA grade entry? And what this basically means is you buy in a market that is such a good entry that you have to do nothing and just make a ton of money over months to years. Now that sounds nice and easy, but there's a catch to that. It's the hardest time to invest in that market when you're getting in. This is when there's the most negativity. There is FUD everywhere and everything is telling you to stay away. But what you don't realize is those who make a lot of money learn to drive off of this. They know that if they buy something when the whole world doesn't want it, but yet it's a really good product or commodity, they know they're getting it at a massive discount. It's like walking to a Ferrari store and you see all of a sudden that Ferrari is down 90%. In your brain, you're automatically going to think, what's wrong with that? I don't want that. Let me run away from that. But the moment that we see things growing in value, we kind of want it. And all this is a massive mental shift, the way we think of things. And that's why a very small percentage get this right. But I'm here to tell you it's a simple switch in your brain. So one of the key things here is FUD, and that is not scary. It creates opportunities. And if you have the guts to invest in these hard times, that is where the true gem and the money that you're seeking for is awaiting you. Now, a couple of mental thoughts that happen when you want to invest in these hard times is you will see bad things everywhere. You'll see it in the news, you'll see it all over social media, everything to kind of make you stay away from this. And the truth of it is there is some sort of sense to that. It's basically saying, hey, don't take your life savings and go all in. But the power of dollar cost averaging in an oversold market and slowly, patiently buying at this hard level, you will soon see how fast that money starts to rise up. And when it starts to rise up, the whole world's going to want to come into the asset. Then all of a sudden, people have this attraction to get into something when they have FOMO. When they see many have made money and this market's doing well, now they want to be a part of it. And the truth of that is it's a trap. They are there to be sold into. So the key here when it comes to markets is 10% is going to make money from 90%. And 90% is going to lose most of their money to the 10%. That's why today it gives you a big opportunity to really double down on how you invest in markets. Now I want to speak around an important topic, making money versus saving money. Now guys, there's a big difference here. A lot of the times, many will categorize these together. It's to say, hey, I want to make money and save money, right? The truth of that is you need to understand that there are slower, safer assets, and there are those that can make you money. And the one's purely on making money, and the other one is saving, something that you believe in a very long time. But it does move slow. It does take time to get where it needs to get. But you know, over time, that's going to do incredibly well. Which also comes to the point of diversifying in one or two or three of these over here. But not necessarily are your savings going to make you a ton of money? Specifically, if you're starting off with smaller amounts and you want to grow into wealth, this means you need to start looking at opportunities. You need to start looking at what's new in the world, because new things are things that have tremendous growth, things that are breaking technologies, that are changing the way the world works. This is where you're going to find gems that can turn a couple $100 into a couple $100,000. But like I said, it takes a certain person to buy these at hard levels. So the difference between the two is to know that for me, every year I'm putting money into things that I want to make money. But it is vital that I take profits on those. It is vital that I don't hold them for too long. That when I open up the investment, I already have areas of where I'm getting out, where I've really thought through the process. Before I've clicked that button, I know exactly where I'm getting out, and make sure that they are super realistic. We're not here for lotto, we're here for realistic targets. And once I've set through that plan, I then know, okay, when I take profits, where am I diversifying the money? Now, I'm saying this because I started in my crypto journey, right? And I ended up making a lot of money in the first 2-3 years. First, lost a lot of money in the 6 months, but I ended up making a lot of money. And to be honest, guys, I kept it all in crypto. I kept a lot of it in altcoins, and I just stayed in one market. And what that resulted in was me giving a lot of money back to the market. And I realized that if I just invested some of that money into gold and I invested into the S&P, and I just took a lot more profits, I'll be holding a lot more. But do I have any regrets of where I made the money? No, I would never have made that amount of money in any other market. But do I regret not diversifying and taking profits? 100%. And that's why I'm speaking through personal experience here of you have money getters and then you have the savings. And it's very important to know the difference. Now I want to bring up the charts and show you guys a couple of simple tools. And the first thing you want to pay attention to is the market overbought or oversold? What that means is, has it had a lot of buying? Is this thing really ramping up? Because what tends to happen is a lot of people come late. When they come late, they lose money pretty quick. And that's why many people don't like trading, right? Don't like investing. Because every time they touch, they say, no, I lose. All you're doing is just arriving a little bit late to the party. So you want to understand, is this asset overbought or oversold? When something's oversold, it's when it's been coming down for multiple months. And again, I like to use this as a high time frame. I want to see on the a monthly chart, which means month by month is a candle. Give me an overall view of the last year, 2 years, right? I don't want to see the last kind of 2 months or so. I want to see where things really are in the higher scale, because I want to get entries that I don't have to work hard for, right? And I also want to really know where the market's at, so I don't allow the short-term stuff to kind of lie to me. Because yes, we could be short-term bullish, but extremely bearish on the high time frame. Now, let's quickly speak around the emotions. So if something's overbought, guys, everyone's just euphoric about it. Right? You will hear many around you speaking about it, many saying that it's super easy. You will see many content creators saying that it's amazing. You'll see a lot of flexing everywhere and a lot of excitement. You'll see a lot of people spending money. When you start to see these attributes, you got to understand that people are getting euphoric. They're really tapping into the greediness and they're super excited and happy. And the truth of it is that is when the market is getting ready for a pullback. Right? Euphoria creates a lot of people to enter a market very quickly, and that creates a lot of liquidity. And through that, smart people that have made money throughout the many months before that can really start exiting markets. And they also know that that's the time when to exit. When everyone's thinking about Lamborghinis and the dream house that I'm going to build, and this is going to change my life in the short period. Right? The short period mentality is a big thing that catches many off of guard. Right? So these greenness will come in overbought markets. Right? Oversold markets is very hard. It's depressing. It's had a bad reputation, right? No one really likes it right now. No one's going to speak good about it, right? And interest is going to drop incredibly low. You're going to see many content creators die off on the topics. You're going to see many people losing money along the journey. And it's just going to be this place where we're going to be like, this doesn't make any sense, right? But this is where I want to tell you that it makes a lot of sense. If you look at every big investor or anyone that made a lot of money, they bought something early. The only way you buy something early is when you're buying it when it's really in its bad patch. It's like finding your life partner before they had a job and before they had their life together. Right? A lot of people have found those, or maybe you were that person in the relationship. My wife or my husband loved me when I was nothing. I kind of sucked, and now they still love me to today. That's exactly what you're looking, right? You're looking to buy something that's in the hard times, right? But what you're also doing is making sure that it makes sense, right? It's looking that it has a good team, looking that it still has a community, right? Looking that it is still building, right? And if you're seeing those attributes, it's very important to do basic research on these things to know you're not getting into any scams, right? But just to see the basics of community, are they building? Do they have a good team? Are they active on their socials? And as long as they're doing these things and their concept of what they're building makes sense, we need to ignore the FUD and the redness, because what you are seeing is a Ferrari, right, that is on special, and you have to see it that way. So the way to do this is to give yourself 5 simple things to look at in a project to make sure that it's legit, right? For me, the big thing is community, right? To make sure that it is active, that they are still building, right? That the concept makes sense. And the 5th one for me is the narrative. I want blue chips. And what I mean by blue chips is when I invest in narratives, I'm looking for the top 2, top 3, right? I'm not looking for the lower barrel stuff that you can do with a very small percentage of your money. But for me, I'm not looking to do that, right? I'm looking for the blue chips in the top industry. So for example, crypto and AI right now I want the top blue chips of AI, right? I want of smart chains in crypto. Like there's many different things, but I'm looking for the top 2, top 3. And again, all I'm looking for is high time frame oversold. So again, the big difference between the emotions, very, very, very important. Now, let's go through the markets, and I want to show you guys the emotions through everything, as well as where these markets are currently at. So the first one I want to show you guys, right, is I want to show you the S&P. Now, S&P is ramping to the upside, right? This is many months, okay? And what I want to show you is I want you to load up a tool. It's one of the simplest tools, specifically when it comes to the high time frame, to just give you a sentiment of, is this thing overbought, oversold? Sometimes we don't need opinions. We just need a tool to show us, right? Things that is based on facts and data, okay? And it's this one over here. So if you go to indicators on TradingView, you type in stochastic RSI. And what I want you to do is go to the super high time frame, which is the monthly. What that does, guys, if you look at this alone, we're looking at the last 8 years, right, of what the S&P has basically done. So if I zoom out here, here we go. Now, just by putting on this tool tells you at times when it's oversold and at times where it's overbought. That's all that it does. It trickles up and down, up and down, up and down. And all that it does is just remind you when these different emotions are coming into play. Now, the S&P for me is something that I'm looking to buy when it's oversold, but this is also something that I'm looking to put some savings into. But I do, at the end of the day, still want to not put my savings into tops. But this is not necessarily a market that I use to make a lot of short-term money. I use this to grow money over time. And I look to deploy money into this with the same rules mindset, but not the money mindset. Because I know this takes time and it does very well over time, but there is times there are big pullbacks in play. I just want to show you here. So this tool will show you when we're at the bottom here, okay, below this 20%, good times to dollar cost into the market. When it's getting to the toppy areas here, as you can see, it could sit up here for a while and price can continue up. For me, I'm not really getting out of the S&P because I believe in it in the long term. But if you did want to, this would be a kind of a dollar costing out. But not necessarily am I paying attention to this as a sell signal. It's more telling me that, oh, you've made some cash somewhere else. Right, just wait till this is a little bit oversold to put it into the market, right? So entries are super important, right? So this is something that I'm looking to hold over time and to keep my savings in, but I'm still going to be a smart investor when I put money into it, okay? So the moment that I see that we start to drop down here, so for example, we saw a rally up, and then we did see a nice percentage drop here, right, of up to 20%, okay, that was the time for me to drop some money into the market for my long term, right? And you can see that every few months, once a year, once every 2 years, right, we get a nice drop off that brings us into oversold territory. And that's where I get in, right? So if you look at where we are right now, we're rallying up, RSIs here. I'm not really deploying much money into this market right now. I'll be looking at deploying a little bit later on in 2026. Does not mean that I'm not going to be storing money and waiting for it, right? I'm going to make money somewhere else. I'm looking to make cash. Okay, and I'm going to be dropping money into this over here, which gets me to the next one, which is gold. All right, now gold has had an incredible run, guys. Look at this. And that's why for me, I'm not putting money into gold right now. I believe it's a great asset, 100%, but I need to be an investor and be smart here, right? You know that this thing was $2,000 and then it went to $5,500. And where I look at things now, right, this thing's quite toppy, okay? However, we are making our way down. In the next 3 months or so, we'll see this RSI at the bottom. Now, with the RSI, guys, what I wait for is I wait for it to drop. So first it will come in here, then it will turn, and then it will cross. Right? That cross signal is something that I pay attention to when I'm putting some money into the market. Right? Why am I doing that? Because sometimes I can drag here, maybe get me in a little bit too early. But nonetheless, again, this is something that I'm not really here to make money with. Okay, I do trade gold in the short time frame, but high time frame, the one where you kind of sit back and make money, I'm not looking to make money on this specifically. This is something that I believe for the long term. So the same thing here, that yes, long term, I want growth in my portfolio, okay, but this is something that I kind of buy in oversold territory because I believe it in the long term. And if you see here how things move to the upside, you can see what happens. Now, I want to show you guys a couple of things. I do want to bring in a couple of emotions into this because it's important to kind of know what the world does when this is happening, right? So when this rampage happened, there's war going on. So everyone jumps to a safe haven. So you got to remember when bad news is going on in the world, everyone's going to jump to safety. And what that's going to do is the riskier assets are going to drop because again, no one wants any risk right now. They want to be safe. But what happens when the war starts to die down? What happens when news starts to die down? Everyone's going to go from safe to risk again. So what you'll see is between risk and safe, you'll see these two different charts. When this one goes up, this drops dramatically. But when this one starts to come down, this one rises dramatically. So when there's bad news going on in the world, what you don't realize is the risk category is opening up. It's opening up for life-changing entries, right? So as you look at this chart right now, risk categories have opened up everywhere. And in that risk categories, I'm looking at the new shiny narratives in the world, as in the AI, right? As in the blockchain and all these different things. That's what I'm really paying attention to slowly start dollar costing in, because I know that when this starts to pull back and the RSI is telling me, hey, this might cool down for a couple of months, right? There's going to be an opportunity elsewhere. Okay, but as you can see, safe haven in this time over here, money printing, stimulus checks, safe haven, right? But then you see at some points when we get RSI to the top here, we do have these pullbacks. So again, if you look at all the times of when we've had these massive rampages, people have been looking for safety. So again, for me, when do I want to look to get into this? Is when everyone's greedy again, right? Everyone's basically, they take in risk again, which means the safe havens have gotten cheaper, take profits, bank for the long term. It's so important to know these two different ones here. So here's gold, right? And I do want to take you back to the S&P for a second and just show you the emotions here as well, guys. Just to show you where the markets are at when things are happening. Sentiment drivers, extreme confidence in the markets, non-stop dip buying. You go check the news, S&P is breaking highs, breaking everything. Boom, all of a sudden we see a 35% drop at any point. Greed comes into markets. Dip-offs happen. In that dip-off, right, gives me the time to invest. Okay, same thing here. Stock market's all-time high. Markets ignoring things like inflation. Inflation rising, doesn't matter. Markets are rallying up. We see a 25% drop at any point, right? And look at where we are now. All-time highs. We're ignoring inflation, right? Inflation is not really good right now. RSI is not there. We got to know what to expect at any point. Now, last one I want to show you guys here is oil, and then I want to jump onto the shiny market that I'm paying attention to. Okay, oil here as well. Oil is a big driver when it comes to war and things like that. Okay, so you can see right now, big spike here. Oil for me is good trades, in my opinion. Oil has these spikes every while when things kind of happening in the world. Okay, and the same thing here. It's kind of just looking at buying them oversold. Buying them oversold gives you an opportunity of loading up. You can see the last 3 times you would have bought, you'd be up nicely, right, when it comes to oil. But oil is something I get out of personally, right? So I look to buy in oversold, and I do start laddering out in overbought. So it's something that I kind of use as an alternative market, not really my super long-term savings. So again, this is something that I would seasonally use to make money. When things are bad in the world, there's an opportunity here to make money. But again, this only goes up when things are bad. When things are good, it doesn't go up. So RSIs help you with getting in that type of mentality. You got to think opposite, guys. Now I want to speak around the market that I believe is the most money to be made over the next 2 years. And again, there's two type of ways to play this. Some of it is for savings. Some of it I do believe in the long term. A lot of it's to make money and get out and move to things like gold, S&P, right, and Bitcoin. Bitcoin for me is something that I believe in the long term. I think it's the best blue chip when it comes to crypto. The biggest names are in it, big investors are in it, and I truly believe in the technology that is behind it. So this is something that I will be building over time into my long term as well. Okay, and then you have the other one, which is the altcoin market. Altcoin market is filled with risk everywhere and filled with incredible gains. And if you can zoom out and you can just focus on the sentiment on extremely high time frame oversold, overbought, there's a lot of money to be made. Now, the problem with altcoins is that there are too many of them in the market. So what you want to do is you want to nail down the top 5 true narratives where crypto can do good, right? So AI can do really good because blockchain can store the data incredibly well, right? And not much data can be fiddled with. That's the problem with AI. AI is amazing, but it needs data to run. And you want to make sure that's real and true data and non-hackable data. And you want the data to be extremely fast as well, right? Structured, all these different things. So for me, AI is a big driver there. Blockchains is a big one. When it comes to decentralization, exchanges, things like that, yes. Centralized exchanges, right? There's so many different topics that you can choose from. And those are a couple that I believe in. So again, just take a couple of important narratives there. And then what you look for is the top 1 and 2. That's it. So I want to show you guys the Bitcoin chart here quick and just show you the drivers of where we're at, right? So if you just look at the last couple of lows in Bitcoin, and we actually have one more here that I'm going to highlight. Let's just get through this here quickly. There was many lows in Bitcoin along the journey, coming all the way from 2018, even before that. Right? But what you will notice is the biggest news events or the hardest times created the most life-changing entries. Right, so in this time over here, we had the COVID crash. COVID had this big drop. Bitcoin went to $3,000. After that, we went to $60,000. And that for me was, you could see how market was getting oversold and they went to an overbought territory. They went incredibly oversold, went overbought, right? And you could just see how this has worked. And to be honest, this only ever gets oversold probably every 2 to 3 years. Right? So they don't come very often. And this is where, for me, AAA grade entries come into play. They're not there very often. And when you get them, you don't have to do much to make a bunch of money. But if we jump back here, just look at a couple of things. Fear that the bull market is over, China ban on crypto mining. So a lot of FUD around the industry at marked the low. Later on, we had FTX collapse. Many of these big things happening in crypto, exchange collapse, right? This is not happening. Michael Saylor is going to get liquidated. There was a whole bunch of different things here. Ultimately, after that, we ended up seeing a rally to the upside. At this point over here, sentiment was not good. Right? Interest rates, right? The fear of where everything's going to happen, stock market collapse, weak crypto liquidity, nothing, right? After that, massive rally. Then we had this period over here, Mt. Gox repayment fears, recession fears. Market's going to go into recession now. Boom, all of a sudden, massive rally. Now look at where we are right now in the market. US-Iran war, bear market mindset. Everyone exiting out, everyone's scared, everyone afraid. So again, where's the sentiment right now? It's getting down to those terrible places of where just no one believes in it anymore. And again, you just pop up the simple RSI and it tells you the truth of where the market's at. The last time we were oversold was 4 years ago. Where are we now? We are getting oversold. So this thing alone is telling you dollar costing into Bitcoin right now. That is for me what smart money is doing. And I said it very carefully there, dollar costing. Because this thing can play between $80,000 and $50,000 and play. For as long as it's below that line, you're dollar costing. Then you can make your choice if you see this as a tradable asset, something you want to take profits on, or do you believe in it in the long term? And I just want to show you guys, that is what the trend is showing me on the long term. Every cycle, that's the highs, which means at some point, I'm looking at highs of up to $150,000 to $160,000. But that for me has kind of been the play that we've had over the last 10 years or so, is this is kind of the momentum that we are moving in. Obviously, a break of the high, things will speed up, but that's the mentality of where we're at right now. That's Bitcoin. Now I want to speak around where I'm dipping a lot of my toes in, which is the altcoin market. Now again, top 2 blue chips in each narrative. That for me is the play. But I just want to show you guys where the market is sentiment-wise when it comes to altcoins. So again, altcoins are extremely oversold. So they're entering that place where no one believes in them, they're a bunch of junk. They shitcoins, sorry for my language, but that's what many people are calling them. I got to remind you that they were called shitcoins here, they were called shitcoins here. Yes, there are tons of alts out there. Key is not to go chase all the memes and things like that, but there are really good ones and good narratives that are making groundbreaking stuff and are a part of the future. Again, you want to speak about new narratives, new things, right? This for me is still new. Altcoins are newer than many of the assets around the world, and specifically what they're building them around. So when it comes to this is where they are. Now I want to go through a couple just to show you what I'm personally getting into. So the first one for me is I'm still a big believer in Ethereum. Ethereum for me is the largest altcoin, and it's literally just in this channel. This is what it's been doing for many years, and this is the channel that I'm basically trading. Again, sentiment as well. Not a lot of good sentiment around this at the moment. So for me, the zone that I'm looking to accumulate and to dollar cost is in this area here. The zone that I'm looking to get out of it is the top of this channel, but as well as the sentiment bar. RSI gets to the top, everyone starts to get a little bit excited. That's time for me to get out. And again, this is an asset now that if you look at just percentage-wise, 100 to 130% to the top of the wedge. Right, this is not thinking too far ahead. We might go higher in the future. Okay, but this for me is one of the slower assets that I want to buy at a good area, be patient, put it in my wallet, and wait. Then we move down the category list, which is something like Solana. Sol is one of the most active chains. A lot of building on Solana, a lot of excitement. If you have seen their conferences and go to their ecosystem, so much creativity that's happening there. There's a bunch of junk too, but it's active, guys. It has a community. People are building, they're excited about it. And that for me is a big part when it comes to this. But if you look at this, there's a time that was oversold when it was this area over here, and now we're entering the oversold yet again. There's even a time we're oversold here. You can see every time we get to this oversold territory, it's always been incredible entries. So something like this for me could be anything up to a 200% gainer. But again, I'm paying attention to sentiment. I don't see these gains happening on gold right now in S&P. I don't see 200, 400, 500% moves. I see them in these markets over here. And that for me is the important thing to pay attention to. But again, taking profits is very important. So using a simple tool as RSI, using something as a channel. But for me, sentiment and RSI is important. When everyone's excited, everything's flowing, price is speeding up. Always remember, price speeds up when it's getting near the end. That for me is the main driver. Something like AVAX, guys. AVAX is in gaming. Guys, gaming is one of the biggest narratives in the world. It's the new school. It's where things are headed at. And this for me is a play where they're in /gaming, /tapping into the AI, like for me, good project, good team. Again, you can do your own research. This is something that I'm personally getting in. But what I'm here to teach you about in the show is the technique. So here, extremely oversold, and it has not been overbought all the way since 2024. Extreme lows here. And again, the percentages here are large, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of percent. Now, as the narratives go, remember, if I had, as an example now, $100,000 to my name in total, easily 80% of that money I'm putting into savings. Some will be sitting in cash, waiting for better prices of S&P and stock markets, but easily savings. But the 20% is going to distribute it in where I can make money. And for me, I'd be splitting it here. And one way you can also split it is market cap. What's the highest value token? Total market cap, and you want to invest in these ones. But if they're a lot smaller than the rest, that's how I distribute my money. So if I see that one is 1 billion and one's 50 million, and I have $1,000, I'm putting $50 into the smaller one, and I'm putting the $900, $950 into the bigger one. That's kind of ways that you can work around, okay? But just splitting your money is super important. But AVAX, massive. 𝗬𝗏, massive for me. One of the best chains out there. When it comes to render, AI space, massive opportunity. Chainlink, the glue, links everything together. Massive opportunity. We have not been overbought for long, guys. Up to 2 to 3 years. For me, massive opportunities. King of memes, Dogecoin. If you agree in the memes. You can play this also extremely safe, guys. Just choose the top narratives. But yes, there's money to be made in memes. Yes, that's how the new school works, right? Memes are created around communities. People that take the laugh and enjoy, and they want to get out of the traditional stuff, and they want to make money in their own way. And that's something you got to believe in too. That's where the world's going. Everyone's going robotic. Humans are valuable. So communities are super valuable. So there's value here, and there can be money to be made. And again, all of these I'm taking profits on. Only ones that I'm keeping is Bitcoin, specifically in the crypto market, and then gold and S&P and things like that is where I'm distributing. So guys, you don't make money by following the crowd. You actually run against the crowd. Right? So when no one's there, you're interested. When everyone's there, you're banking profits and you're running away. It's a very simple formula. It takes a slight mindset change. And that's why I believe that if you're starting off and let's say tapping into crypto, things like that, the long-term play is also good. The key is to not buy the tops. It's to not chase something that's already happened. So if you're watching this right now and the concepts make sense, it's a perfect time to start your journey. And you will get to see the side that many never got to see. Many buy the tops and things like that. And if you're in and you have bought a top before, you can reshape the brain and go do it again. And by doing it again, you can see that, whoa, there's actually massive opportunities here. So the moment you change that mindset and you drive off different pillars, you'll see that there's a game to this. And you'll see that that game is not actually so hard. And it makes sense why people make so much money. But also, keep it incredibly simple. Have a level head, right? Be responsible with your money. But don't be afraid of risk. Don't be afraid of opportunities that are around you. Just pay attention to the sentiments and where you're actually loading up on them. So for me, guys, crypto and altcoins, and specifically blue chip altcoins, is where I see the most money being made. And off of that making money, I am going to be distributing into the savings account that I spoke about. So guys, thank you for watching the video. If you want to join a community of traders, I've built a community. It's a free community. There's a link below in the description. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys all on the next video.